Ethics is the philosophical study of right and wrong action, morality, and virtue. In order to learn from each other, it is essential that we are able to communicate with each other about topics that are important to us. This first lecture is designed to provide us with some tools for communicating productively, even about difficult topics that any ethics class must cover. There are several reasons why communication in an ethics class in particular is difficult. Ethics has all of these characteristics. It is closely intertwined with how we have learned to value ourselves and to value others. Ethics is closely related to our family and our cultural identity. Ethics involves choices upon which we base real-life decisions and plans as we create a foundation for our lives. Ethics involves real-life decisions, and we must rely on the ethical expectations of others every day for our world to remain civil. For all these reasons, a challenge to our ethics can feel like a challenge to our culture, our family, our identity, and even our self-respect. Ironically, respecting individuals' culture, family, identity, and value is also a central tenet of almost every ethical system. So how can we communicate about the difficult issues of ethics in a way that is productive for all, instead of a way that causes anger, frustration, and feelings of alienation? The American psychologist Carl Rogers asked many of these same questions. He was active during the Cold War, when the American and Soviet powers often refused to even talk with each other because of strong ideological divisions and feelings of threat and fear. The conversations that did occur would oftentimes only inflame both sides of the division. But Rogers was interested in interpersonal communication as well. The more we care about someone, the more it matters to us that they share our point of view, and the closer we are to someone, the more it can be difficult to accept the differences in what we value and how we think. Rogers developed a model of communication that focused on two main types of communication and reasoning. Adversarial reasoning is reasoning where we see the other as an opponent because they hold a different point of view from ourselves. In this form of reasoning, our goal is to defeat the argument of the other person so that our argument can be shown to be correct. We only win the argument if the other person is clearly shown to lose the argument. Other goals of reasoning, such as learning from others or showing respect and consideration for all persons, are considered subservient to the goal of winning the debate. Rogers contrasted adversarial reasoning and communication with cooperative reasoning. Cooperative reasoning is when we work together. The goal is to create a space of mutual respect where we can truly understand each other, support each other, and work together toward the greatest possible insight by using each other's talents and perspective to complement our own. Using cooperative communication does not guarantee that we will always agree, but it is designed to communicate fair and respectful dialogue where we all have the best opportunity to learn. Let's focus specifically on some of the negative effects of the adversarial approach as discussed by Carl Rogers. Two significant negative effects might be called the negative psychological response and the problem of negative emotions. The two problems are closely related. The issue of the negative psychological response points to psychological tendencies of response that we demonstrate when we feel that someone has taken a negative, attacking, or dismissive stance toward us. As we can each observe in our own behavior, as soon as we feel attacked, we respond with a tendency in two common directions. The first response to feeling attacked is to dig in our heels and fight back. We might end up defending even our silliest acts and decisions just because we feel it is necessary to keep our self-respect in the face of someone who has belittled us. One of the first things we lose is reason and critical thinking, because we start to care more about defending ourselves from an attack than about good reasoning and critical thinking skills. Another response that we may face when feeling attacked or belittled is to retreat from the conversation entirely. A student may refuse to participate in a discussion altogether, or just decide to never tell the truth about their position again. In this situation as well, it is our ability to think clearly and openly about the truth that is lost. Productive discussion and creative learning are sacrificed for the sake of defending ourselves and our dignity. The problem of negative emotions is closely related. If we observe ourselves physiologically when we feel attacked, we can become very aware of the systems that are active in our bodies and also of the effect that those physiological changes have on our reasoning abilities. Part of the reason that our reasoning ability is lost in the face of attacks by others is directly connected to the biochemical and neurophysiological response of the human organism. The stress hormones released when we feel threatened activate brain systems that interfere with our cognitive ability to reason carefully, have good perspective, and make good arguments. Psychologists and neurologists have illustrated these principles in multiple studies. Our ability to recall data, solve math problems, interpret difficult texts, and understand directions are all sacrificed when these brain systems are active. So what was Carl Rogers' attempted solution to these problems? One part of his solution that became famous in his lifetime was the order of response that we use in cooperative reasoning. We know that we have a tendency to attack and defend ourselves when we feel that we might be threatened by those with opposing points of view. But Rogers advises us to resist the temptation to immediately attack or even defend ourselves. Instead, he suggests that we start by making sure that we have really listened to what is being said. We have all been in a situation where we were so sure that someone was going to say something repugnant or hurtful that we started to attack even before we heard what they were truly saying. To avoid this, Rogers suggests that we stop and first try to repeat the argument or position that we have just heard back to the person who made it. If I know that you are pro-choice and I am pro-life or vice versa, then I probably have a complete arsenal of weapons ready to defend and defeat against the opposing point of view. Chances are I am rehearsing those objections in my head even before I hear the reasons that you have given for your point of view. Chances are good that I will assume that I know what you are going to say and that I will respond to that position even before I listen to your perspective. This is disrespectful and puts the other person on the attack as well. But it also means that I will fail to really make a good response to your argument because I didn't really listen to it, consider it carefully, and respond to it with a full understanding of your position. For this reason, Rogers asks us to respond to the person with the opposing point of view by first trying to rephrase the argument that they have made. And he encourages us to continue trying to understand the argument made by the other person until he or she is convinced that I really understood the point that they have made. After the other person is convinced that we understand what they have said, then we offer our point of view and respectfully offer reasons for agreeing or disagreeing with their position. In a perfect world, if we are both open to the ideas of each other, we will learn from the unique insights of each person and reach a perspective that is better than the one-sided position we might have otherwise taken for the sake of defending ourselves. Even if our positions ultimately end up unchanged, at least we know that we have truly understood the position of the other person and responded accurately to to the position that they really presented. If we treat each other respectfully, we are also in a position to work together in future conversations in a way that we cannot if we establish ourselves as simply opponents in a grand ideological war.